gonna go see if he dropped our dishes back on top of the hill so I can wash them.
Okay. Okay. How old were you during the Great Depression? Do you remember?
I told you I was born in 1943.
Okay.
Well, you figure it out.
Do you remember where you lived?
Yeah, 201 Barclay Street.
In Jackson?
No. Newark, New Jersey.
In New Jersey. How many people were in your family?
Let's see, it was my aunt, my uncle, my grandma, and grandpa. And my mother. There was four. Four. I lived with my grandma and grandpa for a while. And then after they died, then I went in different people's houses until I graduated high school.
What did you do for fun?
Huh?
What did you do for fun?
For fun, we jumped rope, we threw stones, played hopscotch, rode a bicycle. That's about it.
How was the life back then?
What?
How was life? Like, was it hard for you? Was it easy?
It was manure. It was hard. But it built character.
Okay. What do you remember about Christmas? What do you remember about Christmas?
It was lousy. I spent half the day waiting for my father to come see me. Never did. My grandmother used to smack me to get me out of the window.
What'd you get for Christmas?
Homemade stuff. Christmas weren't Christmas. It was just homemade stuff.
What type of food did you eat?
Anything you could eat. Beans, rice mostly, potatoes, ham, pork chops, whatever was available. My grandma and grandpa was on welfare. They got commodities.
How much were the groceries?
I have no idea. I know a loaf of bread was 25 cents.
Okay. What were things that you just really hated about the Depression? The things you just wish never happened?
We didn't have money to do nothing. I used to save my lunch money to go over to New York and have a good time and then come back home.
You want to answer some questions?
What?
We had a different life, he did, than I did.
Oh, that's
See,
good.
I lived up in the city.
So,
I had bus transportation, I had subways, I had transport. He didn't have nothing.
What was life like for you in the Depression?
When I was a little one, it was kind of rough.
It was rough.
My father was a sharecropper, and if I got a nickel, I'd have to walk 4 or 5 miles before I could spend it. So it weren't nothing except maybe when they had what they call a rolling store and come around, and you could run out there and stop him and get a soda or something. But you didn't have, stores like we do around here.
Do you remember anything about the New Deal?
No, that was before my time.
Okay.
Usually, back then, children were kept ignorant of what's going on.
But my father did, he come through the Depression. He worked for the CC camps and all that kind of stuff.
Do you remember anything about what you got for Christmas?
Yeah. Wasn't much. Maybe, cap pistol or something like that, but...
It's not like it is now, a bunch of gifts.
Uh-uh.
Back then, if you got 1 or 2 gifts, it was a lot.
And if you got fruit for Christmas, that was a big deal, too. Oranges and apples.
You remember where you lived?
Yeah. It was way out the country. That's where it was, in Limrock, Alabama.
So you lived in the country and she lived in the city.
Yeah.
I told you we were opposite. We are opposite. That's why we get along.
Opposites do attract. Anything else that you think about the Depression that you want to speak on?
Well, I come along in the 50s I was born in 42, so I was born after the Depression.
Yeah, just a couple of years afterwards.
Yeah.
Were there any effects
But
after?
I was born, when I was born, World War II was going on, and my father, he was drafted, but he got turned down because he had arthritis in his shoulder, and they didn't want him. So he worked for the Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama. And then during that time, they had sugar rationing and all that kind of stuff. You know, you had to have stamps to get sugar, and you'll be surprised at the stuff that went on there.
You remember anything about the Social Security?
Well, no.
Nope.
But back then, they had it. They come out with it.
But you gotta be so old to get it.
But they didn't get as much as they get now. They get about $20 a month or something like that. It weren't too much.
Anything else you just
No, it's
think
just,
about?
I think minimum wage at that time was only about $1 an hour.
You remember anything about the cars and credit on cars?
No.
Only Jews gave you credit.
My father never owned a car in his life.
Oh, man.
We lived in the city. We didn't need cars. You take a bus or anything like that. But credit, the Jews would give you good credit. But if you borrowed $100, you'd have to pay $125 back.
Yeah. But I married her in 62, so that ain't. But see, no, it was 63. 62 is when I came out of service.
Where did you serve?
Where was I stationed?
Hmm.
In Italy for 2 years.
In the Navy?
No, in the Army.
Army.
Used to go up in the Italian Alps, set up the radio so they could have telephone and telegraph out in the field.
Since you lived in the country, you were farmers?
Yeah.
Yeah, we was get out there and hoe cotton and pick cotton.
Did you suffer from the droughts or anything?
Did I what?
Suffer from the droughts?
No, we didn't have, I don't remember drought too much. You know,
No, he was a kid.
as a kid, all I remember is we didn't have air conditioning. It was hot. But you didn't pay any attention to it as long as you drank the cold water out of the well. You go out there and draw you up a bucket of cold water, and you'd have nice cold water.
Well, I thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you all.
We were pen pals. That's how we got together.
Pen pals.
Yeah, you write letters to soldiers.
Mhm.
I wrote letters to him. He lied. He lied.
She did too.
Not as bad as you.
Yeah.
That's because we never thought we'd see each other.